You hear that? That's right. Hello, world. What is up? Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Matt Forte. We are here live at the Build Studio in New York City. Our next guest is the very definition of a WWE superstar. She's a two-time 24/7 champ, a SmackDown Women's champ, won the WrestleMania Women's Battle Royale, and is the inaugural winner of the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. You've also seen her on East Total Divas, and you've probably had a glass of her delicious Capo Cagna wine. People, I cannot say it enough. Very exciting times. It's the woman behind the moonwalking, trash-talking princess of Staten Island herself. The great Leah Van Dale is here. Make some noise. Come on.
What an introduction. Thank you.
You did all the hard work. I just said the words. Leah, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Oh my God, it's so nice to have you. Congratulations on the wine. I'm very excited to talk all about it and all things Leah in general. Very beginning, though, let's start off. How are you? How's Leah Van Dale?
I'm fabulous. I'm loving New York City. I was just in LA the last few days, and it's so funny the difference between the West Coast and the East Coast. And I have to say I much prefer being here in New York City.
Hold for applause for New York City. Okay, no, I guess not. I thought usually...
What? Come on!
Usually it's a much bigger response there. I guess we threw it at him as a curveball. But it's very nice to have you here. We enjoy having you on the show, of course, and I'm excited to talk to you about all this sort of stuff. I saw you were tweeting about SmackDown just the other day. You feeling all right? Is everything okay? What happened?
I mean, I was feeling fine. I was ready to go out there and save Naomi, but like, come on now.
Was not in the cards.
Yeah, was not in the cards for me, but that's okay.
This is your fifth or sixth year?
This is my fourth year on SmackDown.
Fourth year on SmackDown, right.
On the main roster, I guess you would call it, but it's not called that anymore because NXT is the third brand. But yeah, I got signed in 2013, so it's wild that it's been 7 years.
Yeah,
almost
exactly.
7 years, yeah.
Almost 7 years. That is phenomenal. Congratulations. And all the things you've achieved in under a decade, it's unheard of. It's pretty incredible.
It's crazy. Like, when you first get signed, of course, you dream of making history and becoming champion and all of these things, and it's just crazy that I've done that. And sometimes I have to remind myself that the accolades that you just ruffled, I'm like, oh yeah, I did do that, yeah. It's been a wild ride, but so much fun.
Yeah. Well, the thing that you talk about the wild ride, and the thing I love about your story, and you've said this many times before, is that you had no idea, no intention of becoming a wrestler. You didn't know you were going to be a wrestler. You were a professional cheerleader. You were at the NFL. You were at the NBA. You had a whole different thing. What inspired you to make that leap? What got you into this world?
So, like you said, I was a dancer. I danced since I was 3. I love dancing. I have a passion for performing. But I did grow up watching wrestling. I grew up watching WWE. My dad was a wrestler in the early 90s. So it was never anything I imagined I would do. Like, I grew up idolizing Miss Elizabeth. But at the time, what the women were doing were not like, it was not what we're at now, you know? So it wasn't something that I was aspiring to be or to do. And then when I was done with my dance career, I'm like, okay, I need to fulfill this need of performing, and what can I do? And it just fell into my lap, and it was just the perfect opportunity with my dad's history and being like, you know what? Why not? Like, why can't I do this? Let me try it. And then I just fell in love with it.
Your dad was an incredibly hard worker, and he wrestled a lot throughout the 90s, early 90s, mid-90s. Yeah. What was his take when you said you wanted to enter this field? Was he excited for you? Was he worried about you? Because he had a completely different perspective, you know?
He always wanted me to follow his footsteps, always. He was like, why don't you become a diva? Why don't you become a diva? I was like, Dad, I'm not a diva, stop. And then I became a diva. So it's just so funny, but he couldn't be more proud, you know? He's kind of like living vicariously through me. When he was wrestling, he had kids and he had a family, so he couldn't put all the effort that he truly wanted to give. He had to provide for his family. So that's what he did, and he gave up his dream. So he's totally living through me, and we have such a bond that not many people get to have. So I'm very grateful for it.
Did he give you any tips or advice? Like, what did he tell you as you were first starting out?
Yeah, he just always said to like work hard and not worry about what everyone else was saying or what everyone else is doing. I'm on my own path. I can't compare myself. You know, I'm not Charlotte Flair. I didn't come from the independents like Sasha or Bailey or Becky Lynch, but I found my niche, and my niche is my character and my over-the-top, you know, Carmella persona, and that's kind of where I just, you know, thrive, and I just built that. And
I want to talk about that in a second, building that. But one last question from your childhood. Did you go to matches? Did you see your dad? Or did you watch him on TV? What do you remember
I did watch him on TV, but I went to a lot of his so he did a lot of boxing as well. And I would go to his boxing matches. My parents always joke because there's a video of me as a kid being like, go, daddy, go, Dad. He's getting his face beaten, his eyes like falling out of his face. And I'm like, that's my dad, eating a lollipop, like not even phased. So, yeah.
It was never scary for you growing up. It was just, that was Dad's job. That's what he did.
What he did.
You you were at work and you were cheering him on.
Yep.
Yeah, very, very
He's
cool.
getting his butt kicked, but I didn't care.
Do you trace back like sort of your fearlessness and what you're able to do in the ring to kind of growing up around it and not really being scared of it?
I think so. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. What I do is scary, jumping off of the turnbuckle and getting hit with ladders and things like that. But at the end of the day, I feel like I have so many like haters and doubters that I want to prove wrong and also prove to myself like, yeah, I'm a dancer. I didn't come from this, but I can still, achieve the things I want to achieve, even though there's so many obstacles and it's really hard and scary. But sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and keep pushing through.
Let's talk about where did Carmella come from? Where did you find this alter ego, this other side, this character that you've built over the years? Where did it start?
So I think a lot of people would be surprised to know that I'm pretty shy in real life. Just like Leah, I'm shy when I'm not around my friends and family. So it's kind of like this alter ego, like who I wish I could be sometimes, So it's me just turned up. I come from a big Italian family. We did Sunday dinners and drank wine. That's where, I kind of came up with my brand for the wine. But I just wanted to be like this mob wife. And that's kind of where I came up with the Carmella character. And I took it and ran with it.
Did you do research or anything like that?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm obsessed with Drita Divenzo from Mob Wives. So I watched her all the time. She says, I don't play games, I win them. So that's kind of where I came up with that. And she was like such a big inspiration for me, which I know sounds so crazy, but I just really wanted to and I'm from Massachusetts. So my character is from Staten Island. So I did so much research as far as the accent and how they walk and how they talk and what they do, how they dress and the whole nine. So I did a lot of research.
You've always been, we talk about you've been dancing forever, you've always been a performer, but keep me honest here, was this the first sort of time that you got to stretch these muscles and sort of inhabit an entirely different personality and a different character?
Yeah, I mean, I've been put a camera in front of me when I was a kid, no matter how shy I was like, hello, welcome to the Leah Show, pushing my sister around. I've just always liked kind of playing a sort of character. Even with my dancing, I liked, did this whole routine to Smooth Criminal by Michael Jackson. I just like to get into character. I don't know why, just since I was a kid, I like playing. Obviously, this is the first time and to this extent I've done anything like that. But yeah.
Is that where the moonwalking, were you moonwalking?
Yeah, I've been moonwalking since I was 8 years old. So I had to incorporate that. One day I was in practice, I'm I can moonwalk. Can I do something with that in the ring? And we just kind of came up with it. So
what did you think when you realized that you had struck a chord, that this character was resonating with people? People were really latching onto Carmella. How did that feel? What was your response?
Well, I think people love to hate her because everyone can kind of relate to someone like her where she's just over the top and annoying and obnoxious and in your face. And you're like, oh, I know someone like that and I hate her. So I think people really like to hate Carmella.
Well, and anything ever when you're in that zone, when you are Carmella and you're in the middle of a match, is anything super crazy? We talked about the scary stuff you do. Has anything happened that kind of snapped you out of character for a second, and you were like Leah for 10 seconds? You're like, I got to get back.
I feel like when I'm out there, I'm fully right before I go out through the curtain, I'm Leah, I'm stretching, whatever, and then my music hits. It's like F-A-B. I'm like, okay. You go out and you're just you're her. And that's my favorite part about watching anyone backstage is everyone who they are backstage, but as soon as their music hits and you watch them go out that curtain and they transform, I love that.
What was it like? Because like you said, Leah is shy. There's a difference. There's
sometimes. Don't get me wrong. I can be quite obnoxious too, but
there is Carmella is a character that you get to inhabit and get to be, right? And so when you were on Total Divas, that show does a great job of kind of blurring that line for a lot of people, especially the fans, and seeing more of Leah and Carmella kind of simultaneously. When you got to sort of tell your truth and talk about your relationship with Corey, and you saw everybody kind of come to your aid and get your back on social media, what was that whole experience like and seeing that fan response?
That was incredible. It just shows we have the most incredible fans. I have the most incredible fans. I'm so grateful. But it's like anything in social media nowadays. You see one thing, everything's out there, but you don't know what's really happening. You don't know the truth. You don't know what happens behind closed doors. At the end of the day, what happens between him and I is our business. I don't need to go around telling everyone what really happened. But at the same time, I was so grateful that we were filming a reality show in the middle of it because we were able to show our truth. And the fact that people came around and being like, oh my gosh, I was someone who said this, but now I take that back. I'm sorry. And first I'm like, well, yeah, you shouldn't be so quick to judge, but you're coming back around. And at the end of the day, my family, my friends, they know who I am. So
that's a really hard thing to have to navigate and go through if you don't have cameras following you around. If you're not, in
and we were in a brand new relationship.
Yeah.
Our first date legitimately was what you saw on Total Divas. We had never been on a date prior to that. So it was like we're in a new relationship and we're going through all of this stuff personally, and then we have cameras in our faces. So, I mean, the fact that we got through that, we watch it back and we laugh. We're like, who are those people? Because that's so not us. Like, it was just a brand new thing with going through so much. So,
do you have to, when you have the job that you have and you're on all the different shows and playing all the different characters, do you have to like very carefully keep a part of yourself for yourself, something that that isn't in front of the camera, something that's distinctly Leah, that's just for you?
Well, I think so. Carmella on SmackDown Live is one character, right? And then the Carmella you see on Total Divas is me, but it's also, it has to be turned up a little bit because it's reality television, and who wants to see the real Leah sitting on her couch with the face mask on watching Bravo drinking wine?
I think there's a market for that. I do think people would watch that.
So, but like that's basically all I do, So then it's like, okay, we have to go and hang out with Rhonda. We have to go and do these things for the show, and you have to turn it up a little bit. But there's also this like weird feeling of being like, well, are people gonna judge? Like, because that's me. That's not a character. So it's like this weird feeling of being like, you're so vulnerable putting yourself out there, because if they don't like Carmella on TV, whatever, that's a character. But if you don't like Carmella on Total Divas, like, that's me. Like, yeah, like it's so hard. Yeah.
No, it's definitely a tightrope that you walk very well.
Yeah.
Now, okay, we've just recapped the last 7 years of your life. Talk to me about
how bored are you guys?
Exactly. I think it's a fascinating journey, and it all has led to this next big thing that you're working on, Capo Cagna. Here we are.
Ah, my baby.
Your baby, yes. So tell us about how did this happen? Where did the idea come from? What have you done so far? Why are you so excited about it? Tell me everything.
So, as I said, I grew up in a big Italian family. We did Sunday dinners. Everyone had wine. Even when you were 10 years old, you drank a glass of wine with your pasta. And it wasn't unheard of. Like, that was just how I grew up. So obviously with WWE, we have such a busy schedule, and I just felt like, what am I doing outside of WWE? I have to do something for myself, because we're so wrapped up and consumed with, we're on the road, we're on an airport, we're on a rental car, in a hotel. It's like, okay, you start like losing yourself because you're so busy. We're on the road 52 weeks a year. And I just feel like I need to do something outside of WWE. And what am I passionate about? Drinking wine. So what can I do that I really love and also make it a job? Drinking wine. So that's where I came up with this. And Capo Cagna in Italian means boss bitch. I don't know if I can say that.
You can
I
say
just
anything.
did.
Yeah,
okay. And I just feel like it's important to brace that inner Capo Cagna for all of us. I love to drink wine, but I'm not a wine snob. Like, I couldn't be like, oh, I smell and taste notes of the moon and the earth. And I don't know.
Watch out for the moon.
The moon notes in the wine will get you. But I know what I like, and I like cheap. I don't want to spend more than $20 on a bottle of wine. So that's where I came up with this. I partnered with a winery out in Morgan Hill, California. It's a family owned winery, and we partnered up. And basically, this is my baby. I came up with the name, came up with the brand, came up with everything. I'm doing everything on my own. I have a team that's like, okay, we're gonna try to get into this store and do this. It's like me just hitting the ground running. So,
did you have a big tasting where you went and figured out which ones
went and tried. Yes, and that was a lot of fun. I had to take notes so I would remember which ones I liked. But for now, we just have a Chardonnay and a Cabernet, a red and a white, and it's available online. But we're getting into our first restaurant, which I'm so excited.
It's very exciting.
Yeah, in Pittsburgh. So we're doing a big launch in a few weeks. So I'm really excited for that.
I love one of the slogans it's caution, not for snobs.
Not for wine snobs.
Not for
exactly.
Wine snobs. Yeah.
Because it's you see this bottle, it looks fancy, it looks fabulous, but you're not going to break the bank on it. It's when you want to feel bougie, but you're on a budget. So bougie on a budget.
That's another one.
Which essentially is the motto for my life. Look fancy, look fabulous, but also not that fancy. Yeah.
You talk about how you're passionate about wine and you partner up with a great vineyard. What is something you've learned, because you very wisely surrounded yourself with people that do know wine to help you kind of on this journey. What's something cool you've learned so far in doing this that you didn't know before?
Gosh, there's so many things. there's just so many ins and outs of the business. I'm just like, oh, well, how do I just get my wine in Costco? Like, that's what you know what I mean? Like, you can't just do that. Like, this has been almost 2 years in the making just to get it online. So I had to hire all these people to get an online store up and running, and you have to pay all of these fees to even be able there's only like certain states you can ship to, like because of all of these laws, and it's just like so wild, and every other week there's a new roadblock. I'm like, okay, how do I get past this? How do I get past this? But for me personally, because I'm doing everything myself, I just feel like it makes it that much more rewarding. Because it's like when I find, like, to know that we're getting in a restaurant just because I've been like nagging and really like hitting the ground running and being, okay, what can we do? How can we make this happen?
Are you literally like making phone calls to restaurants? Like
Yes.
Leah Van Dale's calling up
Making
and saying,
phone
I have a
calls,
wine.
reaching
It's
out. Yes. So that's kind of like what we're doing, but I just feel like it's important to, because the brand, again, it's all about being a boss bitch and just like embracing that yourself. I just feel like it's making me so much closer to like my customers, because they can feel it. You know, it's not just like something that I'm just like mass producing. And
it's not just the one. You're also, there's like the community that you're kind of forming around the brand, which is pretty incredible.
That's something, again, like that's happened as of late because of, I think, the pressures of social media. When my whole relationship got exposed and all of that happened, I went through such a really rough time being like, I was getting death threats, getting like just this terror. And finally I had to just pull myself out of like, why do I care what Joe Schmo 12345 on Twitter says about me? Like, why do I care, you know? Right?
Hold for applause. There it is. There it is.
And I would like go to bed every night crying and feeling bad about myself. And I'm like, but how do I tell these people that this is not who I am? And then it's like, no, it doesn't matter. I know who I am. So at the end of the day, that's what I think is important, to spread that message, especially for young women and people that are seeing us on social media. I compare myself to like models and people. I'm like, oh my gosh, their life looks so perfect. Why aren't I on a beach? Why isn't my hair perfect like that? But it's like, that's not real. Like, are they really happy? Who knows? Maybe they are. Good for them if they are. But like, I just want women to know, like, what you see on social media is not real life. And I think it's important to spread that message.
100% it is. And, you know, you've had so much success, not just in the ring, but outside of the ring as well. And you are this beacon, this strong woman, for this role model for so many people out there. And you inspire so many people. And I'm curious, who are your role models? When you were growing up, now, who have you looked up to?
Well,
Who's inspired you?
A lot of strong women in my family. My grandmothers were both like such strong, independent women. My mother, who always instilled in me to like never rely on a man for money and always make sure that I can take care of myself. Like, she's always instilled that in my sister and I. And so that's why I think it's important to like be independent and know, like, I don't have to stay with a man because I need him. It's because I want to be with him. And yeah, my sister right now is like my biggest role model. She's younger than me. She's so strong and like just such a hardworking woman. She's like the nicest person I ever met. I'm like, how are you so nice? Like, how can you be so nice to everybody? So I'm really learning from her. She's just like the most incredible woman I've ever met.
We're going to go over to the audience just a second. We got a couple of questions in the room that I want to make sure we have time for, so we'll get to those. But you know, I'm just curious. You did not plan to be a wrestler, and now here you are. You're one of the greats. You know, all these different things that you've done and experienced. Is there something from that experience, or even from when you were a dancer or a cheerleader, that has helped you manage this business? Something that you wouldn't expect, but has been a really valuable skill that you picked up along the way?
I think, like, if there's anything you want to do, you can do it. Like, it sounds so silly and so cliche, but I never in a million years thought I would be a wrestler. And then here I was a champion and made history and did all these crazy things I never thought I would do. So it's like, if you have a dream, like, and you want to do it, you just got to do it. And if you work hard enough and you believe in yourself, like, there's a lot of like people out there have done crazy things and they probably never expected they would do them, but they put their mind to it. And, you know, you just got to like believe in yourself.
All right, last one. This is for me. I had to ask this because I just recently had on the show one of my favorite guests, the Impractical Jokers. Were
Oh
here.
my God. Obsessed.
Okay, I was curious because I saw you were sitting next to Joe on the plane.
Yeah, Joe Gatto.
What is your connection to the Jokers? Have you met them just
So they're actually huge WWE fans. So actually, when I cashed in my Money in the Bank contract, and it was in New Orleans, SmackDown after WrestleMania, Sal and Q were there, and they were taking all these videos. And like, I had no idea they were a big fan. And I saw them after the show outside the loading dock. I'm getting ready to get in my car, and I saw them. I'm like, oh my God, we took this video of you. Look at you. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I'm obsessed with you guys. And they're from Staten Island. So they're always like joking around with me about being from Staten Island. And so yeah, we're always going back and forth on social media. And then at the airport, I saw Joe the other day, and I don't think he knew who I was. And I was like, oh, my friend Bailey from WWE. I was like, she loves you, well, whatever. And then he was like, oh, are you Carmella? And I'm like, yeah, I'm Carmella. So then he texts me, he's like, oh, Q is so jealous right now. I'm like, what? Like, this is so crazy that like, and then, yeah, we flew all the way to LA together. So now we're best friends.
100%. Thank you for indulging. I had to know. I was looking. I was like, "There's some connection here."
Yeah, they're huge WWE fans. Like, I would die to be on that show. That would be so cool.
I'll put that into the universe. That'd be awesome.
Putting it out there.
That's awesome. All right, let's get to the 2 questions we've got. The first one's coming from Anthony. Anthony, you've got a microphone. Where are you, bud?
I'm right here.
There you are.
As a fellow Italian, I just want to say, always love my wine. And one of the things I wanted to ask you was, during the process of making this wine, was there any part of the process or anything that surprised you about creating your own wine?
Ooh, that's a good question. What surprised me? I guess the amount of work that it took. I just literally thought, okay, let me try this wine, and now we're going to put it out for sale. But it was, like I said, it's been such a long process. But it's been so fun, and it's just like so different from anything I'm used to, again, being in the entertainment industry or the dance world. So I'm really always learning, and it's just really fun.
Has it opened up like your mind to ideas and other things you could try out now that you've got this wine thing going? Like, all right, I know how to do X, Y, and Z. Maybe I could do this too.
Well, I'm always thinking about the next things, and it's like, wait a minute, I need to go back and let me really get this wine thing off the ground first. I'm like, we can do this, and then I can do that, and then maybe I'll have my own cheese, and then I can have a pizza, and then let me open a restaurant. And I'm like, wait a minute, I don't even have this in a restaurant yet. But I'm always like one step ahead. But I think that's important, you know?
Very important. No, it's a good superpower to have. Great question. Thanks, man. We're gonna do one more. It's from Miles. Miles, you've got a microphone. Where are you?
Yeah, I'm right here. You talked about your busy schedule with the WWE and everything else you've got going on top of being so hands-on with the wine. And I wanted to know, where does that drive? And because you need a lot of commitment and determination to do. Yeah.
I think like I said, it came from my parents. My mom always encouraged, and my sister and I, and always instilled, like I said, to never rely on a man for money. Always got to be, independent. And my dad is such a hustler. My dad has done, you name a job, my dad's done it. He's been a juggler, a car salesman, a truck driver, a boxer, a wrestler, a handyman, anything. And he does whatever it takes to provide for his family. And I just feel like, you always want to do more. You always want more. And I'm just hungry. I just want to do everything. I want to try it all. That was a good question, Miles.
Very great question. What did your dad say when you started getting all these titles? What was that like for him? Was it emotional?
So I just talked about when I cashed in the Money in the Bank contract in New Orleans, and my parents were in New Orleans for WrestleMania weekend, so they came to SmackDown that day. Later on in the day, I found out I was going to be cashing in, and I didn't tell them. So they were in the audience watching, and they didn't know, but there was a camera crew filming them when I cashed in. And my dad, you can just see it, goes ding, 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 and the new smack, and tears are my dad, and he's like, that's my daughter, and he doesn't even know he's being filmed. And I'm getting choked up thinking about it, because he's just so proud, and it was just such a genuine reaction. And same with my mom, they're just sitting there crying and being like, oh my God, and it's just so genuine. For sure.
No, it's just one of those things where that's a huge accomplishment, period, full stop. But
if I don't do anything else in my career, yes.
A bonus.
Yes,
right,
exactly.
Alleviates the pressure. Enjoy the ride. Well, thank you so much with the trillions of things you've got going on and all the plates that you're spinning. It means a lot that you carved out time to come hang out with us.
I'm so grateful. Thanks for having me.
It was so awesome having you here.
Thank you.
Keep doing that. Just keep going. Capo Cagna, go get a bottle. Leah Van Dale, everybody. Come on. There you go.